You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Mutegi K. Martin. Welcome back. You're still watching KUTV Primetime News, and we're here, as I promised you before, to discuss about the potential of our children. And it has been said time and again that children are not realizing their full potential as they transition into adulthood. We even have grown-ups, most of us, saying that if things were not done in a better way, or if things were done in a better way, it would have turned out better. This is a problem that faces the world from time to time as we continue to bring up our children. The big question being, will we be able to push this child to become what they were meant to be? We're now joined by Winstone Sharrad Musebe, who is a writer, an author, and editor, to help us understand what we need to do better to realize the full potential of our children. Winstone is also the founder of Athanid CBO, based in Wiki, which mentors over 80 children and equips them with thorough nurturing and encouraging the development of their skills. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's good to have you today. And over the time, we have talked about the potential of our kids and what they can do and what they cannot do, and how far they can go. What really is the potential of a child in a nutshell?
I can say it's limitless. The sky actually is the beginning. I would say that they are like dynamos. And, like in the olden days, we used to have bicycles that are ridden. The light is driven by a dynamo. So these kids have a lot of potential. And in fact, when they're very young, they tend to do a lot of exploration. And they try out new things. And these skills could be developed at that tender age if only we pay attention. And actually, somebody has said that the human mind is a mystery, and the best learning occurs just before they go to school. So children need a lot of opportunities to blossom into wonderful beings.
All right, and when we talk about this particular growth, it's a growth process when, of course, children are transitioning from this state of childhood into adulthood, and a lot of emphasis has been put on education as opposed to other areas of a child's growth process and sector. Why is it so? And are there any other areas that we should be looking at, as apart from education?
Yeah, what I can say is that school has taught methods, not the natural ways or practical ways of doing things. But a good and effective education, according to me, is the best platform for a child to prosper. A good education and effective education. We need to leverage on the exploratory stage where they're exploring a lot of things and help them unlock potentials to very many things, transferable skills, the off-academic potential that the kids can grow to further develop into careers or talent that would turn into economic activities. Actually, according to me, school is a place where children should grow, not only in size, but in curiosity, courage, confidence, patience, competence, and understanding. This is what I call effective schooling.
All right. Yeah. And as they continue learning in their own environments, it is important to note that we have other players in this particular field, and most of them come in the name of generally, they come in the name of adults, and children are growing up in the presence of adults. They may be relatives, teachers, staff members of their schools, members of the community. And over time, and in the recent past, there has been an increase of adults taking advantage of small children. How has this affected them, and what really needs to happen to make sure that adults can actually be part of the force that pushes the children to their next level?
What I could say is that adults need to take children through the process of self-discovery. And they need to know who they are. The children need to know who they are, their worth, and adults need to help them align their capabilities to global or immediate community realities. Parents need to be there for their children, to provide for them, not only to provide, but to be their role models. They need to be friends. And parents need to recognize and nurture talent and enable children to reach their full potential. They need to teach the children and not hit them.
Mm.
There are many cases where adults try to punish children because they have done something wrong. Like let's say, for instance, one of the kids drops a glass, a very precious glass that belongs to the parents. So what happens is that a parent comes and just hits them. Next time, what's going to happen, because as children grow, they'll naturally mess up a few things.
Yeah.
They'll learn to hide, to cheat. When they do something else that is bad, that is going to anger their parents, then they're going to lie to the parents.
Yeah.
So it stifles the exploratory skills. Yeah.
All right. That brings us to the point that, probably what we have been looking at in terms of taking advantage of children, it is, from your explanation, it's not just sexual, it's not just the abuse that is amplified there. Could be as little as the reasons and the things that happen inside the house of a family that is termed as functional in our society, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
All right, and talking about that, we've also seen a lot of changes happening in the lives of children, especially in this particular country, and matters of education. And I know you have been in touch with children, of course, from your organization. And we saw the introduction of the competency-based curriculum being brought into the system to make sure that we can actually tap into what each child can be able to do as early as when they are really small and, beginning to learn. Is it really working for the children? And is it helping even to be able to tap some of those specific things that children are good at, and, making them, focus on a certain path?
So far, so good. I've not really interacted with CBC so much, but because I interact with the learners, I can tell.
Right.
And there are testimonies of very good transformation that has been seen in the children. And CBC, the good thing about CBC is that it focuses on the individual competencies, unlike the 844 system that probably was competitive. You think about competition, and then you're thinking about content and the theory bit of it. But this is a bit of practical. And of course, probably it's too early to judge, but so far, we are seeing some very good results. And everybody in this kind of system is a winner. Everybody is successful. You see, like, you're identifying talent and then nurturing the potential of that talent. Yeah, so that is one very good thing about this new system.
Yeah.
And then they don't rate. The way they used to rate that this is high, this one has failed. They encourage, because everybody is special in their own area. So each individual competencies are focused on. However, you talked about whether it's effective, but I think every model needs to be monitored and evaluated. Yeah, and I think if we focus on that, we should be able to know the real impact. But I think it's a model that has been tried elsewhere, and it's a replica of probably what has worked out elsewhere.
Yeah.
So we believe that it's something that is good for us and for the children.
All right. Whether on CBC or elsewhere, how hard would you say, or easy, would it be to identify what a child is really good at? And I'm talking about a child in their ages of between 3 years to 8.
It's as easy as ABC, I would say.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's all about what the child is good at. The child is good at. And you can always tell this from their behavior. It's all about what they do, the way they respond to things, their reactions, their patterns. And they say that usually the best stage to know at which to identify the skills of the children is when they are exploring things, like at that stage, like I said earlier on. So this is a very, 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 very good time. But the problem is that people do not know how to interpret how children behave at that particular stage. You see, a kid might be quiet, and then probably they're expressing themselves. They're telling you something about themselves. Probably they're bitter about something that you've done to them. But if you are sharp enough, or if you are close to that child, you're able to tell that this child is trying to communicate something. But what we need to do is enhance or encourage them, identify what they are good at, encourage them, and just give them the space to grow and the opportunity. So experts say actually that at the early age, you need to observe.
And we can actually see some of your children there, just to cut you short, making bricks and putting them into beautiful patterns. Would you be able to discover an engineer from such an activity?
Yeah, you see, like it's very interesting. And I saw very little girls, and they've done some very good structural stuff. And then I was asking them, what is this? Then they really describe in detail. But an adult who doesn't understand kids will just dismiss them and tell them they're messing up their compound. In fact, I remember there's a time I was near USIU and I met a parent.
All right.
And the baby was disturbing them, that they wanted to help them sweep. So what the mother was doing was pushing them away. Wacha kunisumbua, wacha kunisumbua. But I told her, look, mom, this kid wants to try out what you're doing. They want to help. Probably they just want to see what it feels like. And if you let them do it, they might decide later on discover that it's difficult, a difficult task to do. The kid was given the broom and they swept a little bit, and then they gave the broom back to the mother. The mother told me, thank you, that was good. How did you discover that? Yeah. Yeah, the challenge actually is interpreting what they are doing. There's a friend of mine who told me that when they were young, the father bought a very nice, beautiful sofa set. And then the kid looked at the sofa set, they said, this is very clean, and I have an opportunity to make a mark on them. So they took a razor blade and they cut. They wrote the name of their father on the sofa set. So you'd expect the father the kid expected the father to come and congratulate them, but what they got was a thorough beating. Oh my. And what do you expect of that kid? They're going to coil back, and they had creativity. Yeah. So,
and as you talk about that and bringing out the stories, we have stories everywhere. As long as we have adults, we have stories everywhere of their childhood and what they went through. And as you mentioned, some of these stories are bitter. And this has been also stemmed from some of the situations that have been as the children were growing up, where parents would really told them it is either this or this, and young people and children have been forced to some things and being forced into some particular paths on what they're supposed to do, the subjects they're supposed to take, maybe when they grow a bit older. But when they are younger, they are told this is what you're supposed to do. And a number of things are I don't know, for lack of a better word, they are forced on them, and they're not able to have decisions of their own. And a lot of parents have also come out to express the need to have children not making any decisions and the parents making every decision for their child. How is this effective when a parent makes all the decisions for their child? And does a child require any particular space to make any decision as they continue to grow?
Yes, they require space. It's very, very, very important. However, as a disclaimer, children need also guidance. I know parents who are so probably obsessed with the dreams that they never achieved. So they want to load it over their children to play the part that they never succeeded to play. So you find them forcing the children in an area that they're not good at. For instance, you can be told to study economics or engineering because that's the in thing. My parents were career teachers, and they tried to lure me into teaching. But when I finished school, I reached a point where I put it very clearly to them that I'll pursue that which I think I love. And because they gave me space and they encouraged me on, I moved on and I did what I think I liked. And kids need to be given freedom to do things. And, you know, when you give them freedom, you give them independence.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you need to guide them through because there are certain things that they may not understand. I see many parents who like watching movies, and the kids are watching movies, the same movies with them, and the kids ask them, what does that scene mean? Then you put off the kid, you say, you don't disturb me, I'm enjoying the movie. Yeah, so if you don't guide them, they start making their own. They digest it in their own way, and probably it will exhibit at a later stage in life because they missed out on what that scene meant or what it meant, that guidance. They missed the parental guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, our parents can either break or make kids, depending on how you react or respond to them.
Is it not a tough balance? Because when you look at how kids behave also, they want to make decisions on what they need to eat at that particular time. Some of them want to eat candies all the time, where the parents has to feed them on fruits and everything. Just being an example. And where is the threshold, and where do we need to strike a balance? Because now it seems for me like a tough job here, because as much as the child needs to make a few decisions here and there has to be guidance, and sometimes there has to be a no for these particular decisions. How do we need to strike a balance even as we raise our kids?
Yeah, what we need to do is that we have to put demarcations or boundaries. There are certain things, like, for instance, a 5-year-old wants to drive a car, and you have a very good car. You don't give them the key. Probably put them on your laps as you drive, and then guide them through. So you see, you should be able to gauge and see, is this harmful to them? And if it's not harmful, there's sometimes you let them play around and just decide for themselves. I remember there's this joke my father cracked on me. I saw a manhole and it had the inscriptions PWD. So I asked him, what does this mean? Then he told me, Punda Wengi Duniani. So it was very misleading. it was very misleading for me. But later on he explained what it means. So you need to give them guidelines, because if you just leave it at that, Punda Wengi Duniani, I would have grown up knowing that PWD means that. Yeah. So discretion. I think parents are wise enough to know what that particular age is capable of handling and what they're not able to handle.
All right.
Yeah.
And as we wind up now, when we get to the higher ages, and they are still children, most of them have been reported to, a number of them, not most of them, a number of them have been seen to be involved in drug abuse, sexual behavior, and other reckless behavior. And this has become a great concern, not just for this country, but for the world over, where the young people begin as children and they're introduced as children into some of this queer behavior. First of all, two questions in one. How do we restore those who have gone astray, and how can we actually avoid this phenomenon in the first place?
Parenting has lost its luster because of the dynamics of the modern world. Probably you are out eking out a living, so you don't have much time for your kids. That is where the link has broken. In the traditional setting, we used to have parents being there for their children. Or if they are not even there for their children, there's an adult. Every adult in society had a role to play. And now what's happening, right? We used to be role models. Every adult used to be a role model to children. And certain things were no-go zones. Yeah, like you wouldn't have teen pregnancies being rampant like they are right now. You wouldn't have children finding their way to drugs and stuff like that. So in the absence of that, the social digital media has taken over the role of modeling. So probably we need to leverage on those social media platforms and see how we can make inroads there and capture the kids as they try to Google and do stuff, they find that we have some checks and balances there. Probably that could help. But we can redeem our children or restore them by showing them love, just being there for them. In the first place, what caused the children go astray is because probably we are not there. Like I said earlier, they need guidance. Who is there to guide them? Nobody. Maybe you've left them with a maid, or you've left them with somebody else who doesn't care. So they ask questions, nobody answers questions. There are questions that are pertinent to them. You're not giving them that attention, you're not playing with them, you're not bonding with them. So what happens? They look for a way they're going to bond with somebody else because they're social beings, they have to socialize. And that is where we've lost it all. Yeah.
All right, and as we wind up, as you continue to mentor young children, what is the place of the young children who don't have parents at all? What is their fate?
Well, it's very deplorable. First, because we are not a very philanthropic society. I know there are people who are there who can help. So if you come up with a program, like I've come up with a very nice program in Wiki, to try and target some of these people, some of these children, but you know, they need probably education, they need finances, they need all sorts of things to make them live in a comfortable setting, a family setting. So unfortunately, you're just limited to the little resources that you have and just the little interaction we have with them. But I preach a message of hope, probably teach them the word of God and give them probably examples of people who've made it in life and probably they didn't have parents. Yeah, and we just try to do the little we can. But just being there, taking the role of the father, taking the role of the mother. And unfortunately, they are not only the orphans that have that problem. We have so very many young people, maybe who are older than this. The youthful people who don't have father figures in their families or mentors in their families, so they are lost and they make very bad choices and decisions, and they end up in a mess, total mess. Yeah, so all these people need mentorship. The church has a role to mentor, the school has a role to mentor, and the society. But then the problem is society is so preoccupied with things that are not probably key in capturing the hearts of the young people. The church also is preoccupied in so many other things, so that these people are just floating there. And it's so deplorable, and I think it's so sad. When I look at those kids, I just do the much I can, and I wish Kenyans would come together and we do something good for these people who are missing that parental love and care. Yeah.
All right, the challenge is out there. Be sure to join those who are doing this kind of activity to make sure that we are parenting the ones who don't have the parents like we know it in a normal family setup, and that we can be able to come up as a society and come back to that place where you used to be, especially in our African setup where parents were everyone that is an adult and they had the responsibility of making sure that the next generation makes it through. Thank you so much, Bana Winstone, for joining us tonight, and thank you for your insightful information on this particular topic tonight.
It's been a pleasure.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Okay. All right, we'll take a short break right here on KUTV Primetime News. The topic today was potential of a child. Tomorrow we shall be looking at the potential of our youth. And as we continue to progress as a society, we're going to be talking on that particular topic tomorrow. Be sure to join us right here on KUTV Primetime News. But for now, we take a short break. We'll be right back in just about a bit.